Hi there, welcome to I Alone Fly Tarot. I'm going to do a tarot card reading for Gemini energy. And we're going to get the cards out for the story, and then we're going to read it from a couple different perspectives because people are at different emotional maturity levels in their Gemini nature. High Vibe Gemini is being aligned with truth and love, believing in yourself, believing in your dreams, growing and healing and maturing yourself, staying focused on truth and love and your intuition to guide you. And we all got to learn lessons in that because pride comes before the fall. And, we can really be caught up in thinking we're so smart and that we know best. And there's a lot of things we're going to go indulge in the world and go experience. Just kind of learn those lessons. And so some people are at different stages of life. You have people farther ahead on the road of life than you. You have people further down the road of life than you. And you have people on the same path as you. It's just like kind of being 15, 18, 21, 25. Except that kind of in our emotional maturity, that is a good example, I think. But when we're 35 and 45 and 55, you can meet people that are your same age, and it's all over the spectrum. It's like people act like they're 15 or 18, and people act like super wise and smart and grounded or really motivated and inspired. We all have different traits and characteristics, and Gemini can have to do with what we want to manifest and kind of what our truth is. And it can be a variety of all those things, trying to, what is it that would be like the right mix of things for us that we would enjoy. We can have certain social activities, leisure activities that we enjoy. We'd probably like to hang out with some people who like to do some of those things. And if we meet people and it's like, oh yeah, they have absolutely no interest in that, and the things they like to do are things that you have no interest in, that might be a more challenging relationship. But anyway, Gemini is air sign energy of the mind. It's represented by the Lover's card and the Magician. But Gemini also represents our dualistic nature. We have free will to align with our more worldly nature, live more from our mind than our heart, be more about ourselves, be more about the world, indulge in things thinking we'll be happy. Or we can align with our more hopeful, believing, loving nature, our intuitive nature, our creative, inspired nature, not be as manipulated by the world, not be as caught up in things we might want to indulge in to make us feel better. High vibe energy is about being balanced, knowing I do live in the world, I do have my worldly nature. There are things of the world that I want to manifest, and one can be stability and security and friendships and relationships. But high vibe people aren't willing to sacrifice truth and love to have those things. I mean, they might in the learning stages, because again, I think all of us growing up were so caught up in the world and so manipulated by the world and could be more codependent, and learning to love and believe in ourselves and invest in ourselves and grow and mature ourselves. Hopefully we'd get to be where we want a more balanced life, and other people could be more tilted in favor of one extreme or the other. So let's go see. At the end of the story, we have Justice. And we have the Six of Swords, which is Aquarius energy, both Libra and Aquarius are also air sign energy. So it might be more about how people overall harness their air sign energy of Libra, Aquarius, and Gemini. It's kind of our idea of the dream life and what we love. And again, for people who might be more about themselves, more about the world, more about things they like to indulge in to be happy, they're going to probably invest in those things because that is their truth. And the people who want a more balanced life, high vibe in the Queen of Cups, which I view as Scorpio, want more deep, meaningful relationships. So it's not to be in the relationships more for the superficial and shallow things, but really wanting to have a more deep, meaningful relationship, not live more from their mind than their heart, kind of be balanced between their mind and their heart. Yes, I want these things in the world, but I also want just, fair, balanced, loving relationships. And love is supposed to be just and fair. And some people could have a different idea. They could love people, but they don't want to be just and fair. Or shadowy Aquarius can be that they're more about themselves. They think they're the star of the show, and they should be the star of the show, and it should be more about them. And some people are more about looking like a shining star in the world, and that's what they love. And whoever they can get in a relationship with to have a certain status or image, they think that's just and fair. And, they could love those things of the world. They just might not realize that their affection they might have towards certain people might be more driven by those things of the world. And maybe if those things of the world went away, then kind of the love goes away too. So to build a solid foundation, it's supposed to be truth and love, but we all got lessons learned. So let's see what's going on in Gemini. We start out with the Magician, which is Gemini and Virgo. And Virgo can talk about what our long-term plans are, kind of what drives and motivates us, and our truth. And that's probably what we're going to invest our time, energy, and effort into. And then we have the Ten of Wands, Sagittarius energy, which can be high vibe Virgo, and I suppose high vibe Gemini and high vibe Sagittarius are about being inspired to want to keep healing and growing and maturing yourself. That when you move forward in life, in the Ten of Wands, we can be a little defensive of doing things differently and kind of stepping outside of our comfort zone, because we can all kind of like to keep repeating old patterns because it keeps us in our comfort zone. And the reason these came out is because of the Knight of Swords, which is also, I view as Gemini energy. Well, do we let all these things that could manipulate us keep us defensive and repeating old patterns? Or are we inspired to get to the truth, to invest time and energy and effort, that's like high vibe Virgo, to work through that defensiveness? And some people are, because they don't like feeling manipulated. If I feel like I'm manipulated by my immature nature, my prideful nature, my defensive nature, my pride, my ego, other people, the world, high vibe people don't like feeling manipulated. And they can work together with people. Sagittarius can be about being patient. They can work together with people for a long time to try to kind of bring the dream into reality. Aquarius is about this dream that we have, and Gemini is about what we're trying to manifest. But if some of the people in our life are kind of like, no, I'm going to do that. No, that's my truth. And your truth is different. So in your Gemini nature, it's like you seem to be more about staying in your comfort zone, repeating old patterns. And it's kind of like dead energy. It never gives birth to anything new because they keep being manipulated by things. The same old things keep manipulating them. And they never free themselves from it. They never see through the illusion of those things that manipulate them. And when other people could feel manipulated, it's like, I'm trying to move something forward, but it keeps not moving forward. That's when they kind of get curious to try to figure out why isn't it moving forward. And whether that's with an employer, with a friend, with someone in the neighborhood, at work, whatever, why isn't it moving forward? Well, that's when people decide they want to get to the truth. And they could communicate their truth to some people. Maybe the Ten of Wands can be kind of like, I feel defensive. And maybe even, you speak your truth. In high vibe, it could be in truth and love, trying to inspire and motivate other people, but communicating with people that I thought things were going to move forward, but it seems like we're stuck. We keep repeating an old pattern. And the other people might say, well, what? What's wrong? I think it's just unfair. I'm happy. And the whole thing is, everybody can be happy living their life a certain way, just like when we were 18, 21, 25. But we didn't plan to stay there forever. And sometimes we got, just like we did back then, some of those people were like, what's wrong? We should just keep doing this forever. And, part of growing and maturing ourselves is to face our fears and just be inspired within ourselves to want to kind of keep growing and healing and maturing ourselves. It doesn't mean that you can't live in the same town or stay at the same job and have the same friends, but just, are we growing and maturing ourselves? Or do we keep letting the same old things that have manipulated us maybe in our life keep manipulating us? And some people are inspired to free themselves from those things, and the other shadowy energy can be that they don't want to see the truth. They could know things manipulate them. They could have things and people in their life that make them defensive. But you have to be willing to see the truth. You have to see how your own worldly, shadowy, defensive, immature nature manipulates you. And some people can have that manipulate them, and they're like, They could have other people in their life who are maybe kind of bossy and controlling in a sense where you need to stay here. I don't live my life that way. You don't live your life that way. And then we have other people in our life. We're trying to manifest something, and we could have other people in our life like, nope, I don't think you should do that because I don't do that. And, we could love those people. They could be our adult child, brother, sister, mom, dad, relative, long term friend, romantic interest. Who is encouraging us to love and believe in ourselves? To work through our fears and our insecurities, to believe in our dreams, want us to feel more balanced within ourselves, want us to keep growing and healing and maturing ourselves. And who doesn't? The people who don't is because they don't want to do that. And it could be just because they're happy. Let's keep doing it like this. And that's when some people might communicate to some people, I can have love for you and I can see that you like this and living your life like this. You might love it. It's your idea of the dream life and might make you feel stable and balanced within yourself, but it can make me feel kind of overwhelmed because it, again, can seem like dead and stagnant. It's not giving birth to anything new. So you could look at it like our more hopeful, believing, loving nature tries to communicate with our more worldly nature to, let's like work together. But, people have the free will to choose to live from their more self protective, defensive nature and ignore their more hopeful, believing, loving nature, their own inner child nature within themselves. No, you could get hurt out there. We're going to keep doing this. And so they keep doing that. We battle within ourselves. Some people could feel really overwhelmed battling within themselves. Because that's what the Ten of Wands can be. Part of them might like to do something different, but another part of them equally doesn't want to do anything differently. And it could, who knows how long some people could stay in that state, just feeling overwhelmed. Some people, Sagittarius energy can, just like any zodiac sign though, can be where we kind of are defensive of standing up for ourselves and loving and believing in ourselves. And we've all been there. And then we can be a more codependent energy and wanting to work with others to move forward with us, right? And there can always be some shadowy people in the world that harness those energies in a more shadowy way. They're looking for people who might be a little defensive to loving and believing in themselves, and then they'll just keep them stuck in a relationship with them when they have no intention of doing life any differently. But they could create the illusion, yeah, be in a friendship or relationship or work here, your dreams will come into reality, but it never happens, you know? So then we have two cards not showing itself, and the reason that came out is because of the Nine of Swords. The 8 and the 9 and the 10 are all Gemini energy. You know, we could really be up in our head at times. You know, trying to make that last decision. The nines are where we could have already felt kind of defensive and wounded here in the Ten of Wands and maybe stood up for ourselves. And then, we could take time from the one sword to the Nine of Swords, is working through the Eight of Swords, which can kind of be about listening to your intuition and trying to get clear about what your truth is versus what some other people's truth is. In the Eight of Swords, in between here, in order to close out a cycle, we have to work through those last two swords, and that can be hard about listening, which can talk about listening to our intuition. Some people in our life have a way of living their life. The Two of Swords is Libra energy, just like the Justice card here. Well, what do they think is just and fair? What makes them feel stable and grounded and balanced within themselves? What drives and motivates them? What's their idea of the dream life? Well, what's my idea of the dream life? What do I think is just and fair? High vibe energy would be that we should be working cooperatively together. Aren't we trying to bring a common dream into reality? And then that means we both have to be willing to sacrifice some things. Otherwise, we don't get in relationships really with other people, and that way we can make our life all about ourselves. And some people want to make their life more about themselves, but they also want to be in a relationship. So it's that conflict, like, I really don't want to work cooperatively, and I don't really want to bring that dream into reality, but I do want to maybe be in a relationship, but I'm kind of defensive. And maybe we could kind of look at the Magicians. It can be about illusions. Again, kind of having illusions about what it means to be in a relationship, and some people have some growing up to do, and again, they could be more full of themselves or more codependent. They want other people to be caught up in awe of them and make their life more about them, or codependent also. And some people were in those kind of situations, and some people could now, but they might have worked through the fact that what we think is just and fair, what drives and motivates us, is different, and they kind of worked through the Two of Swords to see the truth. And then it's just that kind of being up in your head about really closing out that cycle. And then we would come out in the Justice card with the one sword. I accept the truth. We're driven and motivated by different things. Maybe at different emotional maturity levels. Caught up in different things and what we want to invest time, energy, and effort into. And while people are at this stage, they could be doing this work within themselves to see the truth of how, if they harness these energies in a more worldly, shadowy way, they're going to keep doing this. And in order to move forward, and the Five of Swords can come after reflecting on the truth and then standing up, taking action in your truth. But in order to even stand up and kind of speak your truth and take action on your truth, people probably really gave a lot of thought to kind of what their truth was. I could like a job, I could like some people, I could love some people, I could be attracted to some people, whatever my situation is. And it can be really hard to close out a cycle with some of those people. So they really do a lot of thinking about these two cards and realizing that maybe they do harness them differently. And maybe they were harnessing them in a more worldly, shadowy way. And that's what kind of got them in those friendships and relationships and kept them in it, and is still difficult to get out of. And they kind of realize, I don't want to get out of this and just go get in another situation like that, right? So I need to see the truth about, because I can't change the world. Whatever traits and characteristics some people that I've been in friendship or relationship or workplaces with that I didn't care for, those kind of people exist in the world. And if I don't see the truth about what it is in me that could draw and attract me to those things or those people, I can be drawn and attracted to them again, that kind of situation. And if I don't want to get myself back in that situation, repeating an old pattern, the truth sets us free. So people are doing that work to work through that. What is my truth? What do I think is just and fair? What are my dreams? And over here with kind of taking action in your truth, we have the King of Pentacles and the Five of Pentacles. For one, if some people want a relationship to kind of grow and mature itself, and feeling like some people are just indulging in a relationship, well, I don't want to stay in a relationship, or people are just indulging in a relationship with me. I might want it to go to the next stage, close out this phase of the relationship. We work through these, and then, we invest in moving forward. The Five of Pentacles detaches from the Four of Pentacles, which was an old way of living life, which could have just been a stage of life, but we go through that stage of life. We learn these things about each other, and then are we ready to go to the next stage of life? And then we work through these together. And if we work through those things, then we have the same truth that we are going to invest in moving this forward. Now, some people might have people wanting to do that, and they're really maybe trying to think, do I even want to be in a more formal commitment? They also might think, again, what do I think is just and fair? What kind of drives and motivates me? The Pentacles can be kind of what our truth is, and also what we want to invest our time, energy, and effort into. And the Five of Pentacles kind of talk about that we have this philosophy of life, and we have a way of viewing life, and we have our own view of how we view ourselves, how we view others, how we view relationships, how we view the world, how we treat other people, how, it's all these different things, from religion to ethnicity to all the things that people debate in the world, right? All those things are part of our philosophy of life. Do we have similar kind of philosophies of life? In high vibe, am I in a relationship with someone who is willing to stand up for themselves? Am I in a relationship with someone who's kind of inspired when they feel manipulated to work through it? You have to be inspired to even want to put in the work and effort, kind of in your Virgo nature, to even want to work through that to get to the truth. And in high vibe, the King of Pentacles holding the one pentacle would be that they did that work. Some people are like, well, no, I don't want to do the work to work through those things, but I like you, you like me, let's keep moving forward. And then there can be this, the Five of Swords can talk about this mental conflict, because, well, they still could have these things that kind of manipulate them that they haven't worked through. And other people could have worked through those things, and those things don't manipulate them that way anymore. So it is kind of like passing grades in school. It's like, well, I kind of look at life differently. When I was at this stage of life, I might have viewed life a certain way. I might have lived life a certain way. I might have invested my time, energy, and effort into certain things and different ways I viewed life and what I thought was just and fair. But I'm not that person anymore. Again, with the fives talking about change, which can be that they meditated on the truth of something. And that could be past pain and heartbreak. They're more immature nature, they're defensive nature, they're more being more manipulated by the world, more manipulated by other people. And they kind of saw the truth of it and they healed. And now they do look at life differently. They're not the same person they were. So it's kind of hard to keep moving forward. With some people, it can work. We can know all sorts, depending on who and how involved of a relationship we have. Social acquaintances, we can know all sorts of people at all different spectrums of life. Can we all kind of get along? Do we all have to agree on everything? No. Can we treat each other in a just and fair way? I understand you have this opinion, or you live your life that way, I live my life this way. Can we still get along, and we can be in workplaces and neighborhoods and organizations and get along? Yeah. Would we want to maybe be in a more involved relationship with them? No. And they don't want to be in a more involved relationship with us, But for the people in our life that we really did want them to keep moving forward with us, but if we feel like they're more manipulative, maybe trying to manipulate the truth, maybe try to create the illusion they're more just or fair or stable or grounded or have learned some of these lessons in life that we would maybe expect someone at a certain age of life to have learned. But we could kind of feel like I really think they're kind of immature, and I think they're, shadowy. High vibe energy is the truth. You are who you say you are. Shadowy energy is I'm going to try to create an illusion about the truth of who I am. And I'm going to try to present myself as being this more stable, mature, grounded, balanced, just fair, motivated by love kind of person than I really am. And if they move forward in those relationships, the other people who that really is the truth of who they are, they invest and kind of, that is their truth. And again, the other people could be trying to create an illusion that's their truth. But then from the 5 going to the 6, it never really comes into fruition. The dream doesn't come into reality, because if someone's truth is, I have mental conflict about love, well, then they stay at one of these other phases and the dream never comes into reality. And they could hope that because the other people have love for them, that they'll just stay in the relationship anyway, or the friendship or the job, maybe hoping the other people will change. We have 2 5s here, and the 5s talk about change. If you're in a relationship with someone who's more inspired by the world, and that's really their truth, but they get in a relationship with someone, they harness their Gemini energy differently in their dualistic nature of free will. One's more about the world and the ego and the image, and the other one, wants some of these things of the world too, but they also equally want just and fair and balanced and loving relationships. And the other person's like, I got a problem with love. I get hurt doing love. I like to live more from my mind than my heart. And I think that's just and fair. How about you be more balanced and tempered in your ego nature? Because in order to do love, you have to get out of your more self-protective, defensive nature, or being more about yourself. And you actually have to invest in love. So it's like they want you to do that, but they don't want to do that. And of course, that could be their idea of the dream relationship. Just like someone who could say, I want to be more immature and defensive and prideful and egotistical, and you be loving and you indulge me, maybe like a mother or a father would to someone who's more like a child. And again, that's what some people want. I don't want to have to grow up. I don't want to. You're supposed to love me like a parent would love a child, but they're your relationship partner. And even if they are a younger person, if they're over 18, they should have learned some of these lessons that you work together with people cooperatively in a just and fair way to accomplish common goals, temper your ego. Maybe when you're out with your friends doing whatever you do, you act the way you want to act and treat people the way you each treat each other. But if you're going to expect people who are the king and the queen would be more mature than a page and a knight, but those people again like to try to maybe create the illusion that they're more mature, that other people who have learned more of these lessons in life can be very patient. That can be Sagittarius, can be very patient with people, but they're not going to want to keep dealing with people who seem to have mental conflict about working together in a just and fair way for this common dream to come into reality. Just like an employer could feel that way about employees, right? And then there's some people, even worse, that people could move forward with, that either you've known them since you were a child, you could have grown up in a family with them, um, or just people that you could meet out in the world. There's some people in the world that haven't healed from the 9 of Swords down to the 5. They did not do the 4 of Swords. They did not reflect on the truth. They might have started to reflect on the truth, but then they decided, I don't have to do that. I can just keep moving forward the way I've been moving forward. And so then they could be kind of full of themselves, kind of stubborn, kind of prideful. If they say something's just and fair, everybody else should think it's just and fair. And if they are more stubborn or prideful or full of themselves, of course, they think that's just and fair. And they think other people should kind of indulge them in that way because they think it's just and fair. And there's some people who just want to win at all costs. Like, I have this dream of having this certain status or image in the world. And they're just caught up in the illusion and maybe the superficial and shallow. And, like, I don't care if I like the job. I don't care how I treat the people I work with. It's a dog eat dog world, or it's all about me, or I'm going to get in a relationship with people. I don't care if I like them or I love them or I hate them. If that would make me have the status and image or whatever that I want, then that's what I'm going to do, because that's most what I love. And then shadowy energy can be where people either they want to be indulged and have people more codependent on them, or they are willing to indulge other people for those things. And some people found themselves in some of these mismatched jobs, friendships, or relationships, and they didn't want to keep moving forward in it the way it was. I don't want to be in relationships with people who could create the illusion that they're these just and fair and stable and balanced, mature people who act in high vibe Taurus with character and integrity, but really they're immature and it's just an illusion they create. They could really get up in their head and they could really have a lot of mental conflict and have a conflict about love and being more just and fair. But they decide that's all just and fair. And so anything they think they could maybe do to try to make themselves feel better or get up out of their head or whatever, they think that's just and fair, and then they think other people should think it's just and fair. And some people decided, and some people are deciding, I don't want to move forward in an illusion anymore. And they could be communicating that truth to people. Do I want to leave? No. I had a dream I wanted to bring into reality, but I'm not going to keep staying in a relationship where I feel like someone is manipulating me, where people could be trying to manipulate the truth about me to others. People are trying to tempt me in my more worldly nature or manipulate my loving nature. And I don't think I should have to be so defensive and up in my head if I'm in a relationship with people who are working together with me in a just and fair way. It shouldn't be people who love me don't want me stressed out, but shadowy people want me stressed out. They want me up in my head. They want me to have mental conflict and inner conflict and feel overwhelmed and could purposely do things that instead of, if I'm inspired to do work within myself to heal and love and believe in myself, and anybody who's doing that right now in a relationship, there could be other people in their life that try to cause some type of commotion to get you out of this energy, to get you back here and focused on them. If it's, I'm going to turn my back to you, I'm going to spend more of my time and effort investing in other people, I'm going to not invest in you, just all these things which aren't just and fair. It isn't offering love to the situation. It isn't working together cooperatively from love. And we can have a really hard time seeing the truth about some people if we initially did buy into the illusion of who they presented themselves as. Because we bought into it. We really did view them as a much more just, fair, stable, grounded person who acts with character and integrity. And they could have for a really long time. Maybe until you got inspired within yourself to work through some things that kind of manipulated you. And then when you worked through those things, you kind of weren't in that same energy that you'd been in before. And that could have really gotten them up in their head because now you're different. Again, how different is it? Say if we were in a relationship with someone when we were 18 or 21, and then meet them and maybe try to be in a relationship with them when people are 25, 30, or 35. They're not the same person, but some of the other people kind of still are. And sometimes people will try to come back in a relationship and think, oh my gosh, my dream was always to be in a relationship with you. And then the opportunity arises and it's like, oh, well, shit. During your 5, 10, 15, 20 years or whatever of your life, you did a lot of healing and growing and maturing yourself. I was kind of repeating old patterns and just kind of living my life the way I'd always lived it. And then they can kind of be stressed out about getting in a relationship, female to male, male to female, or whatever, right? That, wow, you seem to, look at life differently than you did before. You seem to have learned how to feel more stable and grounded and balanced within yourself, not in more codependent energy. And that can be when some people are like, yep, you can go. I'll go find someone else because they're still where they're at, Let's go look at these two cards. The Seven of Cups and the Queen of Wands. Well, I view the Seven of Cups like the Queen of Cups. Oh no, did I say it? Seven of Cups and the Queen of Cups? I view them both as Scorpio. But again, some people, shadowy Scorpio can be more superficial and shallow. Anyone can harness that within themselves. And they are still more inspired by the world or other people or codependent, kind of defensive. Still maybe more inspired to operate from their ego, worldly egoic nature, or defensive nature, or self-indulgent nature in a more shadowy Leo energy. And live more from their mind than their heart. In their Gemini nature, I am more about caught up in the illusion of the world and my ego, my image, and these things I want to go indulge in. And the other people in their Gemini energy want to not repeat patterns of the past, want to have these new beginnings, or inspired to have these new beginnings. They learn lessons from these past experiences. I don't want to repeat that old pattern. And other people do want to repeat that old pattern. And so eventually, people can realize that they're more superficial, more about ego and image or themselves, maybe more defensive, because we can hide in our ego nature. Like, I don't let my more authentic, loving nature come out to play. They get hurt out there. Let's be manipulated by our ego nature and be defensive. Let's decide we have a good idea. We'll just operate from our ego and just try to create the illusion we've healed. And some people right now might be wondering, could I manipulate someone? Do I think they would believe it if I told them, I've changed, I grew up when I matured myself? Well, some high vibe people have learned some lessons in life, and again, they have no interest in repeating an old pattern. They have been there and they have done it, and they've been hurt and they've been heartbroken. High vibe people are investing in their truth, which is that people are supposed to be who they say they are. And if it's romantic, it should be based on love, and love is to be just and fair. And that's why some more shadowy people could decide, not to pursue some people who they know are more high vibe because they feel they won't, they'd be trying to fake that there's something they're not, like they've learned these lessons in life that they haven't learned, that they've tempered their immature nature, their egoic nature, their stubborn nature, and they haven't. And then there's other people in the world that have went through this same thing. Could be people you don't even know yet. But when we quit investing our time, energy, and effort into the people who have shown us they have not learned these lessons and they are not willing to temper their ego or work through their fears or their insecurities or their past pain and heartbreak that make them act in certain ways, that's when it frees us up to move forward, to meet people who also have went through similar life experience and have learned some of those same lessons in life. Those are the people we can have our dream come into reality with. And that's what some people are doing. But, if you're going to, say, leave a job, a friendship, a relationship, you might go through a period in the Five of Pentacles that talks about going through a period of feeling left out in the cold because you won't be indulging in those habits or vices or activities or people or relationships or job, whatever it was that you decided, I don't think my dream's going to come into reality here. And I think high vibe people do put in work and effort in truth and love to move those relationships forward, and they can be in those relationships for quite a while. But eventually, you can't keep staying in denial of the truth. The other people, it is more kind of trying to emotionally confuse people about the truth of who they are, trying to maybe manipulate people, maybe outwit, outplay, outsmart. And it's just like, oh my gosh, that's not even how I like to live my life. I don't think it's supposed to be outwit, outplay, outsmart. I thought we were just supposed to work together because we love each other and we're motivated and inspired to work together. But the truth is, there are some people, they don't want to do that. And it is this more shadowy Taurus philosophy of life that, no, everybody's strategizing, everybody's trying to outwit, outplay, outsmart. Everybody's more about themselves. Everybody's trying to be the privileged person in the relationship. And one person's more in the privileged position and one person's kind of left out in the cold. And they don't want it to be them. It's just this whole completely different way of viewing life. And just as we have a harder time understanding how people can think like that, they could have as hard. They think we're creating an illusion. We think they're creating an illusion, trying to manipulate people. But they really do manipulate the truth. And they are immature. And they are stubborn and prideful. And get all up in their head. And they do have a lot of mental conflict about love. So, You know, I think we could rightly say that we kind of see them clearly. But because of this way that they view life and relationships, they just think you're trying to use love to manipulate them, to get them to indulge you more in the relationship. And you're not trying to manipulate them or get them to indulge you. You wouldn't even probably want anybody to indulge you. It's like, ick, what are you doing? Why are you acting like that? Stop it. You know? I just want to work together with you. I want us to invest in moving forward in truth and love to bring a common dream into reality. But for some of those people, they just could have a lot of fear, maybe either because of experiences they've gone through in their life or just because of how they harness their Gemini energy within themselves. In a world of duality, you have to have all these different people to have free will choice. What's your truth? What do you want to do? Who do you want to hang out with? What kind of people do you want to be in a relationship with? You know, and there's everybody on the spectrum. Who knows? Maybe we chose before we came here. I'm gonna be this type of person. I want to have this kind of viewpoint. Okay. And then they come down here and have that kind of viewpoint. You know, it's all, and everybody, we can come in contact with all these different people to help us get more clear about what our truth is and our truth isn't. And if we're not too much on the extremes and we're willing to learn lessons and we're willing to see where we're kind of out of balance and we indulge poor behavior in ourselves or others, then we learn those lessons and we heal, and we don't want to repeat that pattern. And we take the lessons that we've learned to go to like the next stage of life with these things I've learned. Some of those things were not just and fair. Some of the people moving forward with me in my life are just and fair, and they do work together with me that way. And I want to move forward, meeting more people, you know, and learn more lessons. Inspired to keep learning lessons. And some people lack any inspiration to learn any lessons or to change at all. And some of them could be really full of themselves. I don't have anything I need to change. Caught up in the illusion of themselves. Maybe they're narcissists, some of them. And some of them are so caught up and manipulated by other people or their ego or their fear or their lust or their greed or whatever. You know, it clouds their vision. And also some people, I view high vibe Aquarius as believing there is a higher truth and justice to aspire to. And other people could have mental, even though they could try to present themselves as people who do believe that, they really do have mental conflict about it. Because they like to think, whether they're male or female, I really think whoever has more of these things of the world is kind of running the show. And if I have more of those things and I'm in a relationship with people, I kind of think I run the show. Whatever those people think they have that people want. It could be their physique. It could be their looks. It could be their intelligence. It could be their looks. It could be their money or status, you know. If they have things that they think, there'll be other people who want to be in a relationship with me because of these things of the world that I can give them. And again, some people, they could have moved forward with people motivated and inspired by love, but they have mental conflict with that. I'd have to do love, and I'd have to be more just and fair. That would mean I'd have to kind of get balance within myself, and I'd have to work through my own mental conflict about this philosophy of life that I have. I'm not doing that, and that's when those people are willing to sacrifice aligning with more loving people in their life. And, you know, they also, and in a lot of ways, some of them can be very just and fair and loving. It's just to be in the relationship more for being in the relationship for the status and the ego and the image and how it benefits them. Or trying to get someone who's loving trapped in a relationship with them, hoping if they can get that person to move forward with them and they get them in the relationship, that even when people later kind of realize the truth, that they'll be up in their head and kind of in their ego, we get manipulated by the world, and want for the relationship to work and want for the stability and security and, male, female, they would like it to work, and really struggle with kind of loving and believing in themselves and that's what shadowy people count on. I hope that even when they do see that I'm not who I say I am, and even though they might eventually realize it is more just about me, how it benefits me, or the ego, or the image, or the status of it, and it's not really love, it's kind of superficial and shallow. I'm hoping because they love me, or because of the status or the image, that they'll stay in it. And some people are like, but that means I have to sacrifice like my truth. I was inspired in high vibe Leo and high vibe Scorpio. I had a dream of being in deep, meaningful relationships that were just and fair. And they're like, I know, but I'm not willing to do that. So you have to sacrifice your dream and make it more about my dream. You can see where that's not just and fair. And some of these people know when they get in relationships that they're defensive, they know they're immature, they know they're bossy, controlling, materialistic, self-indulgent, abusive, or whatever. But just hoping if they get someone in the relationship with them, that the people will have too hard of a time to decide to get out. But some people did. I'm willing to give up some of these things, and I'm not as caught up in my ego and my image as you might be. Because for some people, just being in a relationship, people could feel like that says something maybe about their worth and value. High vibe people are like, no, being in a relationship doesn't define my worth and value. I just have worth and value for being a human being. And I'm going to work through my own fears and insecurities of being more independent and loving myself and believing in myself and believing in my dreams and maybe investing in really walking the talk. I believe I have more to work with than just these things of the world, and I believe in a higher truth. In a world of duality, whether it's religious or not, doesn't have to be, but, we can equate shadowy energy with the devil that doesn't want people to love and believe in themselves, and we can see the extremes of depravity in the world. Most people, it's just kind of, majority of the people are maybe more subtle in their shadowy nature. And then there's high vibe energy that we could refer to as God, but those can just be names that people use for it. But we obviously live in a world because we got people doing atrocious things in the world, and then we have people not doing atrocious things in the world. And so it's like shadowy energy tries to make us think you don't have anything else to work with but them or these things of the world. So we refer to that as the devil. High vibe energy says, no, you have more things to work with. For one thing, you are given your own unique talent, skills, and interests that you can use that God gave you. And you also have your emotionally intuitive nature that you can listen to. Because there's a lot of, probably 50% of the people in the world at any given time are kind of wearing a false mask. And so you're given the gift of intuition to realize that when some people are smiling in your face and acting like they're so nice, and your gut is telling you, I think you're wicked. And then, of course, as they do little things that kind of show you that, no, I think you're more manipulative, I think you're more bossy or controlling or full of yourself, I'm going to listen to my intuition. Because our intuition, just like bats have sonar, was given to us to help us navigate in this world. And the high vibe people have learned that lesson. And they are listening to it. And they're looking at things from a big picture. I'm probably going to live 80 years. Is there some things in the world I have mental conflict about that I would like to manifest? Yes. But, well, I could, in my pride and ego, think that I know best, and I could try to, you put in work and effort aligned with your truth, and assume other people who are aligned with that truth will come into alignment with you. And as you're listening to your intuition about different people, you're investing more of your time, energy, and effort into the people who seem to be more aligned with your truth versus the people not aligned with your truth. Why invest more of your time, energy, and effort into people who aren't people that you can work with to manifest a dream into reality? But there's always going to be shadowy energy within yourself and outside yourself that is going to try to stop you. And what some people don't know about the high vibe people with these two cards not showing themselves is that the Seven of Cups comes after the Six of Cups. And the Six of Cups can be, you did repeat certain patterns with people, just like everybody else has in the world, because we all repeat patterns until we kind of see the truth. That you've made peace with the past. You were inspired to get to the truth. You offered truth and love to it to get to the truth. You've reconciled with it. You're not in your ego about it anymore. You're inspired to move forward and close out a cycle and have a new beginning with more just, fair, mature, stable, grounded people. Some of the people in your life don't know that. And some of the shadowy people in their life are not investing in you or communicating with you because they think you won't love and believe in yourself and you'll come on back. But they don't realize that you've already seen the truth of them. You've already healed, you know? And eventually they might see the truth one day. But they might be too much in their ego because, like, oh no, I'm sure. Because they have so many things that manipulate them that they don't ever work through and heal from, that they keep indulging those things or those people again in their life. So of course, because they could kind of be full of themselves and think they're so smart, that of course you'll do that too, because they did and they thought it was just and fair. And they could really be surprised when some people are like, no, I'm not repeating that pattern. I'm moving forward with or without you. And if this isn't your truth, then I wish you peace. What's coming up for some people who harness some high vibe Gemini energy that they might not see coming up? Some of you could get a new job. Some of you get in a new friendship, relationship. Some of you get married. King of Pentacles kind of represent all those things. And some other people could, you know. The high vibe people would be doing it more from truth and love. The other people might be doing it more to create an illusion, the ego and the image of it. And you could be in your friendships, relationships, and jobs, and some of these other situations could just be other people in your life or your environment that you would like to move forward with you in your friendship group, or and some of them aren't. And it's like, well, okay. I accept the truth of it. I get out of my ego about it. What's coming up for the high vibe people? The Death card and the Knight of Cups. Why? Because of the Page of Swords. So in all three of your air sign energies, your Libra, your Aquarius, your Gemini, you're inspired by love. In the Knight of Cups, the Pisces energy, and you realize that some people aren't. They don't want to do love. They try to maybe intimidate and control people or want to move forward with people in relationships, but like they want you to be authentic and loving, but they kind of want to be immature and indulged. But you're supposed to just buy into the illusion and help create the illusion of who they are. And it's like, no, either grow up and mature yourself or not. And because you wanted to get to the truth and you didn't want to keep moving forward in a more mismatched relationship, it transformed your whole life, is what high vibe, the Scorpio death card can be. I've already done this. I have been here. I have done this. I am not moving forward in this anymore. I am emotionally detaching from this pattern. Whether you do or not, I am moving forward differently. I've seen the truth. I have healed. I don't care if I have to go through a period of feeling left out in the cold. I would rather feel left out in the cold, enjoying people in my life or just enjoying my life, even if I don't have other people in it. But there's probably some people in your life, you know? I will move forward with those people. There's other things that are part of my dream and other people and things I can invest my time, energy, and effort into, if not my career, not my education, healing, growing, expanding my perception of myself and the world around me, being curious, learning new things. I would rather do that and be away from people who are harness this energy in a shadowy way than to be in relationship with those people and feel defensive, wounded, stressed out, conflicted, feel left out in the cold, where nothing changes. I change. And some people had to get out of their more codependent energy and the illusions that they had that other people would change, because they're not. And as people can go through that process, eventually they have emotionally detached. They are no longer interested and don't view those people as people they want to be in a more involved relationship with anymore. They've learned to love themselves and give themselves the things that they wish other people would have given them. And they're eventually, you get to where you don't feel left out in the cold from those people, and you're not up in your head about those people, and you're not in your ego about those people, and you're not mentally conflicted about those people. Love helped you heal to be back to believing in yourself and believing in your dreams. And you detach from people who kind of harness a more shadowy Scorpio, Pisces, and all three of their air signs. They don't do love. They're immature. They're codependent. Have illusions about what it means to be in a relationship. Looking for someone to be like their mom or dad in their life or something. And they're an adult. But it's like they don't want to grow up. What's coming up for people who harness a more worldly, shadowy Gemini energy that they might not see coming up? Oh, and as you're moving forward in that energy, you're going to have some people in your life who are standing up and defending you, just like you probably stand up and defend them. And as you move forward, other people, you could be inspiring other people to love and believe in themselves and not indulge poor behavior in themselves or others. You know, if you indulge poor behavior in yourself, there's going to be other people who are happy you did and want to be in friendship or relationship with you. And it's like, I'm an emotionally complex person in my Scorpio energy. I don't want to get more emotionally involved with people who I don't think have that more hopeful, believing, loving spirit. They can go get in a relationship with someone else and do that with them. And other people know that you could repeat these patterns if you wanted, but they see you investing in your truth, maintaining balance within yourself, and then you're the kind of person they want to be in a relationship with. They also don't want to be in relationships with more immature people who have illusions about what it means to be in a relationship. They want to be in relationships with people who believe in their dreams and are authentic in a relationship. That could be the pages. What's coming up for the shadowy people they don't see coming? Ooh, 2 cards not showing themselves. Well, what are they? Well, for one, what they don't see coming is more people who harness these energies in a more high vibe way are probably going to leave their life. You know, for a long time, the more high vibe people in their life didn't want to see the truth that some of the more worldly, shadowy people aren't who they say they are. And they really harness these energies in a more shadowy way. And eventually, the high vibe people in their life see the truth of it. And they're not willing to stay in those jobs, those friendships, or relationships. What are they? The Emperor and the Knight of Wands. So, the Emperor is Aries energy, which is about the self. So, anybody can be more inspired in their Sagittarius, and the Knight of Wands is Sagittarius energy within themselves. Anybody can be more inspired to be more about themselves or more inspired to indulge someone in order to have a certain status or image in the world. Some people could realize that some people have been indulging them, more high vibe people. And it's hard if you have someone who's like, oh no, I love you, and they seem to, really be motivated to want to be in a relationship with you. And gee, you got someone who seems to really want to be in a relationship with you, but as time goes by, you could kind of realize, I think it's more for being in a relationship to be in a relationship, or the status or the image, and I don't really think it's love. And that's when the high vibe people are like, I'm less interested in the people who want to indulge me. I want to be in a relationship with people who are inspired within themselves to be a good leader in their own life in the Emperor. And also the Emperor would have learned these lessons in life in the 4 suits of the deck: the heart, the mind, the 3D nature, and the creative passionate nature. Wanting to be in relationships with other people who've learned those lessons versus being around people who could be more immature. People could always find people, again, who to some degree or another might be willing to indulge them. But those people could have a lot of growing and maturing to do, so it's always kind of like just having more immature people around you that you could wish could grow up. But because they kind of indulge people, they could keep staying in it. And it's like, if I want my dream to come into reality, I've got to quit either being more immature, being in relationships with people who are more immature, and I need to take this time to really focus on what my truth is and my dream, and go out there and look for kind of those people and just getting to know people, going about your life. It's like God will work things out. You just go live your life. And, the devil is about kind of more immediate gratification. And that's why some shadowy people keep getting themselves in trouble, because they just maybe want to feel better. And then they get themselves stuck in situations that they don't want to be in. Well, temper yourself, male or female, Don't go for, I don't know. When you keep finding out it's not the answer, quit investing in things that aren't the answer. See the truth of it. Maybe quit looking for other people to invest in you or indulge you in your ego or love you. Learn to love yourself, your own inner child nature. That's when we get out of the illusion. When we love ourselves enough to believe in ourselves and stand up for ourselves, we won't want the illusion anymore. So, some people who harness some high vibe, Aries and Sagittarius, have been wanting to maybe be in a friendship or relationship with someone, but the other person, it never moves forward. And eventually the people accept the truth of it and they move on. And the shadowy people kept thinking, oh no, like they love me, or they like me, or they want to be in a relationship with me, or they want this job. I'm sure I can keep acting this way because they've been indulging me. I'm sure they'll keep indulging me. Well, that's the thing with Judgment Day. Eventually people are like, that's it. I'm done. Enough's enough. And then they could be like, oh my gosh, what? It's like the King of Wands is like, what? You're not, or the Knight of Swords, you're not going to keep investing in this illusion? You're not going to keep defending me? Not be enamored with me in some way? Shit, those people got out of their ego. They got out of their head. They healed. Shit, they saw the truth. I'm not who I say I am. I'm just more about myself. Shit, those people are just and fair and loving. I bet their dreams are going to come into reality. Because even the shadowy people know that they can be in relationships with just and fair and loving people. They just don't want to do a just and fair and loving relationship. And hopefully, because you love them, that you'll keep indulging them. And because the shadowy people indulge your ego, and they probably, shadowy energy can be in competitive energy, and also because they're very codependent, and also because in their ego, they want to create a certain status or image, they will probably rush to go get in a different relationship where they maybe indulge someone just because the most important thing is to maintain this certain illusion about them and who they are. I must be a loving person. Look, I got in a different relationship with someone else. Or look, I got in a relationship with someone who has a certain status or image. I must have that certain status or image. But they could even know that the people they're getting in a relationship with, they could even not view them that way or even want to be in a relationship with them. Could not like them, could not be attracted to them. It's all a strategy to try to create an illusion that they've moved on, that they're these stable, grounded, mature people, and then they have problems in that next relationship because the other people could again buy into the illusion and they want the dream to come into reality, and they're like, oh, sorry, yeah, no, I was just using you as a pawn to try to maybe manipulate someone else to get them to come back. And then if they want to get out of a relationship, they won't be truthful and honest about it. It's to probably do some immature things again, hoping the other person will eventually leave. And then they can say that those people left for whatever reason, and then they can go indulge in repeating this pattern all over with someone else. It was getting too close to where people weren't willing to settle for the illusion anymore, weren't willing to just keep repeating an old pattern. They wanted justice in the situation. It's like, oh shit, gotta get out of here, male or female. So there you go, Gemini. I wish you peace, love, and joy, and we'll see you next time. Bye bye.